as Mike showed in the presentation, there are 6 sectors in the park. That's sector 1 is actually foul pole to foul pole. Sector 2 is from behind home plate to the first base line, and then sector 3 is from home plate to the third base line. And then sector 4 is actually just the club level. So it's just the actual suites that are inside the closed-in area of the park. And then 5 and 6 are actually the upper seating over here and over there. And there is one external sector that's on that stairwell to the right side of the field out there. You'll see the boxes throughout the venue. So the dark green box is ours. The one to the right is the Verizon LGC system, which is a newer install, so the paint job looks nicer.
Better paint job. Yes.
But the remotes are what I forget on the chart what he said. Something like 96 remotes in the venue, and it's a mix of medium power remotes and high power remotes. When you're on the club level of the venue, which is indoor, and we have more RF control, and you don't have the macro penetrating as much. Those are all medium power remotes, and they're usually above the ceiling tiles in that space. And then out in the open air areas where we really wanted the high power to be able to cover all the way down to the front row seating, we have the high power remotes. And there's roughly 10 dBm difference between a high power remote and a medium power remote.
So when you did like a site survey to see the impact of the macro network prior to doing the deployment in here, take all that into consideration?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, originally, so there is a macro that's across the interstate to the west side of the stadium, and it's intended to cover Interstate 85, which borders, the western side of the stadium. Originally, they changed some of the mechanical tilts and direction of those antennas to try to get it out of the park. And what ended up happening, it created a void on the other side of the park. So that's originally why we added an external antenna from the in-building system, is to fill that void that was created by the optimization of the other macro site. And then over time, I mean, they made some optimizations to a macro that's to the south of here, and we were able to use that external antenna to actually cover parking lot areas to improve tailgating areas.
Re-angled it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a macro antenna, so we had to have a crane come out, and the guy got up there and had to change the azimuth. So, and the system that feeds our external antenna is one of our ODAS remotes. We probably could walk over to it, but it's a good example of what the ODAS remotes look like. They're much larger.
It's like a regular base station cabinet.
No. Let's walk over there. Let people stop us if they don't want us to go there.
You know a little bit about this place?
I do. I've spent many nights here. Well, there's been a lot of changes over the years too, as far as AT&T adding additional carriers to increase more capacity. When carriers are added, the system changes slightly, so you have to re-optimize the system.
What was the hardest part?
I'd say the most challenging part with any venue is just working with the venue owners regarding, trying to create a stealth environment for the DAS. So you don't want antennas being visible to their customers that are coming into the park. So you want to improve service without impacting, the visual aspects of the park itself.
You think you did that?
I believe so. I mean, they've added the Wi-Fi system here, and we have good overhead space in the park, so there's plenty of space to hide antennas. We took extra measures to paint all the antennas the Turner Field green, which is a special green that they have, so that you wouldn't see the antennas or the remote enclosures throughout the venue.
Do you guys do the Wi-Fi stuff as well?
We do offer Wi-Fi as part of our services, but we didn't install this Wi-Fi. AT&T has a separate company they work with for Wi-Fi deployment in major venues.
What percentage of it is cellular? What percentage of it is Wi-Fi in any given instance?
Well, they just
What defines how you come up with the overall solution?
They actually just turned up Wi-Fi here at the end of last season, so I still think it's an unknown as far as what they're going to get for data offloading in this particular venue.
Okay. That's probably an important thing for the network operator. It's cheaper to run Wi-Fi than it is to run cellular, right? Like these femto cells you've heard about, people getting their homes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's cheaper for the operator. I mean, the Wi-Fi system here, I would expect cost, if not more than the DAS.
Oh, really? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's less
And the other thing that in the Wi-Fi space is you don't cover all the nooks and crannies of the park. You know, you're really trying to cover the stationary seating areas.
Okay.
Supports both cellular and PCS, and I think there's 43 dBm per channel or per band. But, you know, originally when we designed it, everything was about the coverage of the seating area. And then what happened was once we turned the system up, you know, you actually see traffic patterns for users. And there's a kid area over here where they entertain, you know, like when parents come in with their kids, there's a place where they can go pitch balls and hit and stuff. Well, what ended up happening was a lot of family members ended up standing around using their phones and their devices there, so it created a kind of a void in the park over here. So some additional coverage was added, you know, and over time, you know, we also learned about handling ingress, egress. Mike talked about that at the Superdome, and just about how much more is focused now on how patrons enter and leave the venues these days. Whereas before, it was about, you know, you almost kind of assume that they just left the macro and just landed in the seats.
That's not the case.
Yeah, so now they you know, the design actually follows users, and you know, you kind of look at where they enter and leave the venues. And that's all I got to say about that.
How'd you dial it in? How'd you dial it in so it didn't interfere with the macro network and vice versa?
Oh, well, you're never, I mean, it's never going to interrupt the macro network because it's, you know, it's so much more dominant from a power standpoint than we are. Plus they have much higher gain antennas, so just in general, I mean, it's always the DAS trying to compete with the macro. It's never, I haven't seen any cases where it's the other way around. But I mean, we even have a worst case scenario, right? A macro is mounted on the roof of a venue where you're trying to install, and even then, I mean, the challenge is creating enough power in the venue to overpower the macro.
You probably already said you didn't put Wi-Fi in this.
Wi-Fi is in Turner Stadium. Yeah, AT&T. It's all an AT&T Wi-Fi hotspot.
Oh, okay.
And that was installed and turned up. Service was added last year, towards the end of the season last year. So. All right, I don't know where we're supposed to go now.